Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the JACKOCAR Kia Series. It is round number 10 this evening. We are racing at the USA track, the Circuit of the Americas. However, it is the short version of the track, so a race with a difference here this evening. Of course, that means we will be running a 100% race distance, just to make up for the fact that Codemasters don't compensate for the amount of laps that you have to do around a short track compared to the normal layout. My name is Jake. I hope you're all doing very well on this fine Tuesday, evening here in the UK. Maybe another time, depending on where you are. Unfortunately, no Matt alongside me this evening. He's got a sore throat, so he unfortunately can't commentate alongside me. However, I have been informed that if Jacko crashes out the race, he will join me in commentary, so potentially that's something to look forward to. Of course, Jacko, who usually commentates on the Cup Series alongside Owen, but of course he races this evening, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes for him. Hopefully, I'm hoping he doesn't crash out early, because I would be really evil to want such a thing, and I don't think I'm that evil just yet. So we've got a qualifying session as always. Each driver will do a lap one at a time, and the fastest lap obviously takes pole position. Of course, with only one attempt in qualifying, you've got to get it spot on. If you invalidate your attempt, that is it for qualifying. You can already see the first driver preparing to go out on track right now. Let's just get everything up as should be. There we go. And Dark Shadow is the first one out there on their outlap. Let's take a quick look then at this short variant of Austin. It's obviously you make a slight kink there. It's quite a long short track, if I had to say. Interesting to see what sort of lap times we get around here. And of course, this is the first week of the playoffs where there can be eliminations taking place. Currently, the three drivers in danger are Wace, Jack G, and Cloud Mozza. So they're the ones who really, if anyone needs to get a good result tonight, it's them. And you'd have to say at the moment, Easty Matt's in quite a good position in the playoffs. MK Bourne is as well, and there's a few other drivers as well. But those are the three that are currently beneath a red line that I can see in the standings in front of me, and they're the ones in danger. I'll try to keep you up to date with how that develops over the race, but to be honest with you, I'm not too sure, so it's just going to have to wait and see on that one. Obviously, if someone below that red line goes out the race, we could be fairly certain they're not going to be moving above it. So Dark Shadow 16.8 for the first sector. It really is a nothingy sort of sector, obviously, with it being a short track, and that's going to be way off the track. That's not an invalidation. Well, I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of that chicane there, though. That is one thing I do like about this short variant of Austin. It's just a lovely flick, like a triple chicane, if you like. Hello, Khalifa. Hope you're doing well this evening. Of course, the Kia Series admin tuning in to see how this goes. Dark Shadow is just coming round this. Of course, this Istanbul style triple right hand. Obviously, it's like a turn 8 copy, but obviously goes in a different direction. And then through his final corner, Dark Shadow is going to set the benchmark to beat, but I don't think it's going to be a pole position time. Dark Shadow does a 1:12.7. We've already got Frenagamu on his lap, and is looking already like he's going a little bit quicker. He has got Jess in front of him, though, who is on an outlap, so hopefully Jess will keep well out of the way. I'm sure she will. Don't think there'll be any issues there. And this is such a tricky little corner here. You've got to almost surrender the first part of the left-hander to make sure you get the correction right for the second part. And then this is such a lovely corner to drive, I have to say, even if it is a blatant copy of Istanbul's turn 8. And Frenagamu's just got one corner left to go. I don't think Jess has really held Frenagamu up, and he's going to go comfortably quickest on a 1:08.8. We've got Indecisive Mackie on a lap as well. Let's get a quick look at the car from the broadcast angle. Of course, everyone runs their own liveries here in the Kia Series. in JACKOCAR, so it's nice to see what the guys come up with. Most drivers tend to keep the same livery most weeks, but obviously some people do like to change it. I still remember, I think it was Bill or Bazza. No, it was definitely Bazza last week, who initially had the 0506 style Renault livery and updated it to the more modern the 0708 Renault livery. Clearly a huge Renault fan. Indecisive goes second quickest then on a 1099. And Jess, now that's definitely a change of livery. I'm very used to Jess running a sort of red and black colours, so that's a huge change for her livery today. And quite a striking livery, I have to say. It's definitely a lot more noticeable than the previous livery, so it gets a thumbs up from me so far. What about this lap time? Is it going to be enough to tip Frenegamu off provisional pole? It is not, but it is good enough for second place. And Jacko is next on a lap where he's definitely had a change of livery, because that's not his usual livery. I think that's basically an American sort of style livery to celebrate his home race. Not gonna lie, there's already some comments suggesting I'm not the biggest fan of a track and that only Jacko likes it. I mean, he's a little bit biased in that one, so can let him off, I suppose. It's actually, I've got to be honest here, this is a true fact, I believe. I don't think I've ever commentated on a race round USA Shorts ever before, so this is a first for me today. I'm losing my USA Shorts virginity, if you like. And Jacko, he clearly does like this track because he's about to go comfortably quickest, 107.4. Let's go further down. Bill is the next driver on a lap. And is invalidated. Yeah, there you go. Invalidation through that chicane, and Bill just driving off the road there. Probably a bit frustrated with that one. Wow, people hoping for Jacko to crash it. Do you want to hear his commentary that bad, huh? We've got a few drivers out there on medium tyres, it's worth pointing out. Newgarden and Nascar. I'm going to go on board with Nascar now because he's just started his latest lap. Dark Shadow saying the new livery's not improving their pace. Well, you know, at least if you look better when you're driving with a good livery, that's all that matters, in my view. As someone who's quite familiar with being near the back of a grid in online racing, I can sympathise. Dad's car then through. It should be the end of sector 2. Oh no, they've changed the end of sector 2 here. Just trying to work out where the end of sector 2 mark is. We might have already gone past it, to be fair. Yeah, I believe we have. I'll have to look at where sector 2 ends round here, because it's not where I expected it to be. But Dan's car's coming up around the final few corners. Can he take provisional pole from Jacko, or is he going to remain on pole for his home race? Yeah, Dan's car's not going to beat it. It's only good enough for P2, but he is on the medium tyre. Some people clearly wanting to go for that strategy. It's worth pointing out as well, there are no jokers this evening, so nobody will be doing a one-stop. Everyone will have to do a two-stop. No jokers this evening. And we've got Newgarden, who's an ex-driver on a lap. He's also on the medium compound tyre. And it's fair to say it's a strategy that a few drivers clearly are liking the look of. So Newgarden coming up to the final corner then. Will Jacko be rid of his pole position yet, or is he going to have to be somebody else? Nope, Newgarden goes in third, so still Jacko clearly is a fan of his track. And Mr. John is invalidated, so he will not be doing a lap. So next up is Cloud Mozza, one of the three drivers that we mentioned. One of the three drivers we mentioned that is currently below the red line in the playoffs and is at risk of elimination from the playoffs tonight. So huge pressure on Cloud Mozza in his Williams style livery. He'll be hoping he has a much better race today than the Williams cars did on Sunday, that's for sure. Of course, a double DNF for Russell and Latifi on Sunday, so he'll be hoping that livery doesn't curse him even further. If you're wondering what I mean by Williams livery, because I know on board it doesn't look too much like the Williams livery, there you go. That is definitely an attempt at a Williams livery this year. And he starts his lap now. We've got Waze and we've got Niels as well. Is Niels just ahead of... yes, we've got Niels. Oh, he's invalidated. So I didn't quite catch Niels was on a lap there, my bad. But it didn't matter anyway, I suppose, because he has invalidated. Hello there, I'm thinking that's Yuri who's just commented in the chat. Of course, the Yuri doesn't go out until later on in the session. We're back with Cloud Mozza now, so Niels is invalidated, so still, we've had probably half the drivers now, and still it's Jacko on provisional pole position. I wonder why this track got chosen. I smell a fix is afoot here. Cloud Mozza going around the final sector. Yeah, the middle sector line's very late on in the lap. I don't really understand why they did that. I feel like it would have been better placed where the sector 2 line is at the actual real track, to be honest. But there we go. Cloud Mozza, though, is about to take pole off Jacko, the first driver into the 106s. So, sorry on that one, Jacko. It didn't last all session, which I'm sure you would have hoped for. Yeah, Neil's back in the pits, just double checking. We're on board with Wace with the End Racism livery. A nice touch there from the driver who needs a result this evening. It's fair to say, as he gets all out of shape. And that was very nearly over the track limits there, so he was a bit fortunate on that one. But nevertheless, despite that moment, he's looking good for Waze to take pole position here, and he does so by a couple of tenths of a second. So Waze now into provisional pole, and the two drivers who really needed results tonight to stay in, basically stay out of the elimination zone in the playoffs, have both done decent laps. Let's go with Bazza, who I'm assuming is still stuck with the 07-08 style Renault. Yes, he has. There you go. I've got to say, he's very good at redesigning these Renault cars, so I'll give him that. I wonder if he'll do the 2010 one next. But nevertheless, he's not invalidated thus far, so not too bad. We haven't had Jack G yet, of course. He's on an outlap at the moment. He's the other driver who needs a result this evening. So I'll be keeping an eye out for how he gets on as well. Bazza round the final couple of corners. And he'll be on to the start-finish straight. I don't think this is going to be a lap that's going to take pole position off Waze. It is not indeed. It's good enough for P4 on a 108.2. Quite for such a short track here. The margins are bigger than I expected. I think it's fair to say. So at the moment, then you've got Danskar and Newgarden in 5th and 6th on mediums. You've got Frenegami, who I've said it's a pretty decent qualifying effort in 7th. Then, of course, it's Jess, Indecisive, and Dark Shadow, Mr. John, Bill, and Niels didn't manage to do laps. Vitinho across the line, and he goes up to 3rd place now. So Jacko just being slowly pushed down the order here. It's not what he would have wanted. But he had his moment. I want to say that's a new livery for Jack G. I don't feel like I've seen him run that livery before. I don't think I have. I feel like it looks like a livery, but I can't quite put my finger on it, on which liveries it is. If anyone can help me out with that, feel free. I mean, of course, it doesn't have to be imitating any sort of real-life livery, but I feel like it has, and Jack G's left the session, so he won't be able to do a lap. So that's a big blow for him. Hopefully he can rejoin for the race at least, but that ruins his qualifying hopes as Connor starts his attempt. Of course, it was Connor earlier on the season who had the big connection issues. So we're thankful it's not him on this occasion. And here we go then, through that chicane. It's such a... I actually think it's a nice corner. I know not many people would agree. It reminds me a bit of a Singapore Sling, which was another corner I really liked. So maybe I'm just an oddball on that one. Connor then coming up now to the end of the second sector. Vitinho has obviously retired. He went 3rd quickest. Connor is going round the final sector now. And the penultimate corner awaits him. This is such a tricky corner. It's very easy to run wide there because it's such a blind entry point. But Connor does well getting around it, and across the line he goes. Oh, and it's so close to Waze, but not quite good enough to take pole. We've got Yuri out on the medium tyre. Be interested to see what Soul Lap he can do on the medium tyre. Of course, the fastest medium tyre run we've got so far is NASCAR's 108.2. I reckon Yuri's got the pace here to get into the 1-minute 7s on them. 50.6 was Connor's middle sector split, so it'll be interesting to see what Yuri's doing. Yeah, 50.6 for him as well. So I tell you what, there's a chance here that Yuri could get into the 1-minute 6s. That'd be a great effort on those medium compound tyres. Let's have a look then. Through the final corner he goes. As long as there's no issues through here, he shouldn't invalidate. Yuri across the line he goes, and it is up to second place. Manages to split Waze and Connor despite the small deficit between them already, and goes up into P2 on medium tyres. That's a good lap from Yuri. That's fair to say. That's a really good effort. MK Bourne is next one on a lap. Again, I feel that's another one who's changed his livery, you know. I don't recognise that. It's quite a simple orange and black livery, but it's quite nice. Reminds me a bit of a Spiker team, if anyone remembers them. They weren't in F1 too long, and they didn't really do anything, but reminds me of that a lot. MK Bourne then across the line he goes, and he's up to 5th place on a 107.2. Not too bad. Jack G got an error code on the penultimate corner. Yeah, literally I was on board with you and it booted you out of the lobby. It booted you out of the lobby I think before that on my screen. I could be wrong, I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, sadly some issues there with this game, and it has cost Jack on his qualifying run. Of course, he's one of the drivers who needs a good result tonight to avoid elimination from the playoffs. Splinter then across the line, he's the next one, and 106.2, nice lap from Splinter, takes half a second off Waze's time, and that is quite a benchmark to set from Splinter there. And I believe now we've only got Easty Mats out there, so it's just Easty Mats who can prevent. So only Easty Mats who can prevent pole position going to Splinter. What can Easty Mats do? Of course, he's been the star of this season in the Kia Series, currently leading the way. And he's got quite a few race wins to his name as well. He's been very impressive. We're sort of looking here, probably looking at 50.2, 50.3 has been a good middle sector split. 50.1, yeah, this is going to be right up there, I think. This is going to be challenging Splinter. Could Easty Mats take it away from Splinter right at the death? We're about to find out. Easty Mats round the final corner. Here he goes onto the main straight. He's going for the line, and I think he's done it. He might have even broken into the 1-minute 5s. That's a great effort from Easty Mats. And right at the death, Splinter thought he'd done enough, taking half a second off Wace's time, but Easty Mats edges him out, and he did indeed go into the 1-minute 5s, 1-minute 5.9. So your grid for the race then is as follows. You've got Easty Mats, Splinter, Wace in 3rd, Yuri 4th, Connor 5th, Cloud Mozza 6th, MK Bourne 7th, Fatinho 8th, Jacko with easily his best qualifying of the season in 9th. Bazza completes the top 10. You got Danscar and Newgarden on mediums just outside the top 10. Frenegamu, Jess, Indecisive, Dark Shadow, and there was no time for Mr. John, Bill, Niels, and thanks to some game issues, Jack G as well. Not as many invalidations as you might have expected there, to be fair. Certainly not compared to some of the tracks we've been to, like Canada last week. I mean, I believe nearly half the grid invalidated their lap time last week. That chicane did catch a few people out, but ultimately not too many. Jacko in the top 10, turn 1's going to be carnage. Everyone fear Jacko's. Jacko's in a good position. Of course, we've got a 100% race distance with it being a short track, although as I was just saying, it's quite a long short track, if that makes sense. Like, it's still, the lap times are over a minute, so this is gonna be a decent sized race, this one. And we've got Easty Mats and Splinter on the front row of the grid. Let's have a look at the tyre choices for those outside the top 10. Obviously Yuri qualified on mediums, so he starts on them in 4th. That's going to be interesting to see how his race develops. Dan's car and Newgarden have stuck with the tyres that they qualified on in terms of the compound. Indecisive's gone for mediums. Dark Shadow has gone for hard tyres, and Jack G's gone for mediums. A bit of an interesting one going on hards. A bit of a two-stop around this track. I don't really think that'd be the way to go, hard tyres, but we'll see how it develops. Connor and Cloud Mozza might have cold tyres by the time everybody gets round, because they're going to be waiting on the grid for quite a while, which is not what you need in terms of a start of a race, but is what it is. Of course, I'll just remind you, Waze, Mozza and Jack G are the 3 drivers that are currently set to be eliminated from the playoffs at the end of this race tonight. So they need a good result, and particularly for Jack starting at the back, that's not going to be straightforward. They're already making their way up to the final corner of this track. And they'll take their place. You can already see the 2 cars lined up there on the 3rd row, patiently waiting for everyone to make their way around. You should be thankful this is not Singapore or Spa, because it would take a lot longer. We've got all the drivers now lining up, ready for the off here. Jacko there, that's it, Jacko lining up on the grid. He is indeed in his American tribute livery, I'm going to say. And we shouldn't be too far away here from lights out. I imagine the last couple of cars just lining up. Yep, there you go. So when the lights go out, we will be underway here at Austin, and we are away. The short version of Austin, 56 laps, and we are ready. It looks like Easty Mats got a pretty good start there. Splinter may try and go up the inside though. Easty Mats holds it around the outside further down the field. Oh, it looks like a bit of contact there. MK Bourne, I think there might have been a bit. So got a safety car already out, and Jacko's. I think Jacko's involved. I think Jess has also been involved. We've got some penalties there. Jacko's collided with somebody, and there's going to be a few cars with damage. I think Mozza might have collected some damage as well. Or maybe it was MK Bourne, I'm not too sure. Let's just look further down to see what's happened. It is, I think it is Mozza, is it? No, actually Mozza's fine. Just trying to find out who's got damage. It might be Yuri. Definitely saw some front wing fly off around that area. And let's have a look here. Just trying to get an idea for who it is. It's MK Bourne. It was MK Bourne's... the left-hand side of his front wing just flew off. So MK Bourne may think about pitting. We're under a safety car conditions on that one. There was quite a bit of contact further down. We saw penalties for MK Bourne, Jacko and Jess. So not too ideal there. Let's have a look at the winners and losers, as we might have some guys in the pits. Let's just wait and see if anyone decides to come into the pits. Jacko hasn't. I don't think many people have pitted, which is quite surprising, despite all the contact we saw. And of course now the timing glitch occurs, so I'm not too certain of where. Obviously Mr. John is not leading the race, it's Easty Mats, so we're just going to wait for that to reset. Under safety car conditions, but in terms of the top 2, it's as you were, Easty Mats and Splinter. Waste remains in 3rd, and now I think the there we go, position changes. So 2 position gains for Mozza and MK Bourne. Yuri and Connor lost out at the start. Not too much of a surprise with Connor. He would have had cold tyres at the start, but good effort from Mozza, who was also stuck on the grid. 5 positions gained for Bill and Niels, 4 lost for Jack G, And not good starts for Jess or Dark Shadow towards the back of the field. So that is the state of play on lap number 2. And no one came into the pits despite the safety car coming out and a few penalties flying about for collisions. So a bit surprising there. You thought there definitely is one or two drivers out there with some front wing damage, that's for sure. But it might be good enough that they can carry on. Of course, they can't, I don't believe, unless they've got extensive damage, they can serve one of their pit stops at this stage. So maybe that's another reason why. I think Dan's car might have set his qualifying lap on standard fuel mix, which might explain some of the reason why he dropped down, or was maybe lower in qualifying than he would have hoped. A bit disappointed to have made that mistake, but still, of course, on the medium tyres outside the top 10, it actually maybe helped him out. In a way, we'll see how that develops. He has lost one place off the start. So hopefully we're back to green flag conditions at the end of this lap. I can't imagine the safety car is going to stay out any longer than this. Yuri lost connection, he's rejoined now, so that would have explained actually why he's lost a couple of places if he's been AI controlled at the beginning of this one. Yep, there you go, safety car coming in this lap, and Easty Mats will effectively become the safety car now. Don't know what's happening between Yuri and MK Bourne, but obviously Yuri just rejoining in his car. He's not giving too much space to the safety car, Easty Mats here, so that reduces the window of which he can decide to bolt. Safety car is in now. And when will Easty Mats go? I imagine he'll just try and put the foot down at the final corner. Yes, in... Oh, no. He's backing him up before the start-finish line. There's such a huge gap. MK Bourne pits. That'll be why the drivers with damage are pitting now. We've got yellow flags in all sectors. I don't know what that's all about. We've got Jacko. So, yeah, Jacko, Bazza, and MK Bourne all in the pits then with damage. Not exactly what they wanted. Yuri's been given a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, which is weird because he's dropped down to 17. Not too sure about what's gone off there, but back at the front, Easty Mats and Splinter have really got away from... Well, I say they got away from the rest of the field. They haven't really, actually. It's just a timing glitch at the moment. So they've still got ways right there. Further down the field, Bettino up in 6th place at the moment. Newgarden and Dan's car have found their way up to 7th and 8th with various issues. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Again, I'm not too sure what that's all about. We've got battling going down further down. Dan's car losing on a couple of positions there as Bill and Niels made their way through some. I think he may have been slightly wide there, Dan's car, on that one. And hopefully when they cross the line we'll have much more reliable timing. There you go. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Co-Masters. And Cloud Mozza's looking in a pretty solid spot at the moment in 4th place. Just behind the top 3 guys. Easty Mats trying to pull away at this stage of proceedings. Oh, and you saw there was Waste running quite wide. It looked like there just before the triple-handed chicane. Got to be careful there. He's very likely he may have picked up a warning for that. Expect some penalties over the course of the next sort of 50 laps. Let's go on board with Cloud Mozza. Just behind Waste at the moment. DRS should come into operation soon. I've got to say, that's very wide there from Mozza. Thought for a second he was going to go off, but he managed to hold it. Oh, and that's wide. That's going to be a warning for Mozza, I suspect. Indecisive has lost a couple of spots. What on earth's going on here? Jess is coming under threat. She ran wide, and that's going to present an opportunity for Yuri to move up to 14th, which he does, but then picks up a huge whack of oversteer as he came out the final corner, but managed to just about gather it back up again. And keeps 14th place despite a few nervy moments there. Connor is right behind Mozza. Splinter's trying desperately to get within 1 second of Eastimatsu, and he'll know how important it is. But he tries to get DRS off a race leader in order to defend as much as attack. We've got Jack G, I believe that was, making his way past Frenagamu. Up into 11th place. Jack G from the back of a grid, already up 9 spots. That's pretty good going. We've got a yellow flag going on. I think it might have been Dark Shadow towards the back of the field. Oh, we've got a pit stop. That's Niels. I'll just try and catch Niels in the pits. He must have some damage. That's a very early stop. Let's have a look then. Niels, yeah, going on to mediums. No change of front wings. So it's just an early stop. Maybe didn't like those softs, I don't know. But either way, Niels into the pits for his first stop out of 2, and he'll be back out onto the racetrack. And for his sake, he'll be hoping he's in some nice clear air. It's like he's going to rejoin just behind Indecisive, but a few seconds behind at least. Connor looking very close behind Mozza. It's fair to say that Wace is just dropping back significantly actually from the top 2 guys. I wonder if he's had a small mistake on this lap, because he definitely did not have Wace quite as close behind him as what he does now. And there you go, and you've got Waze, who will have to go on the defensive here. He definitely won't be anywhere near getting DRS. Splinter has got to within 6/10 of Eastimatsu. So for the lead of a race, that's definitely closed up. Splinter does the fastest lap of the race, and here goes Mozza. He's not quite close enough on this occasion, doesn't decide to go for it into turn 1. Of course, one of the big overtaking spots at this track. The end of that huge back straight has kind of been lost with a short version, so you are a bit limited on overtaking opportunities around here. Turn 1 probably is your best bet as Mozza picks up a penalty. That's not what he would have wanted. We saw him run wide a few laps ago, and that must have been his 3rd warning, and now he's coming under threat from Connor. He made a slight error there, and Connor's going to dive up the inside and take P4 away from him. So a double whammy for Mozza on this lap. He both gets a penalty, then makes a small error running wide and loses a place to boot. Good stuff from Connor, and that reduces the pressure a little bit. It was building on Waze's shoulders as well. We've now got Mozza potentially might come under threat from Vitinho now as well. He's not quite, didn't feel like he got the best of runs out the final corner. You've got to be super close to the guy in front to pull off a move into turn 1 around here. It is a little bit tricky in that regard. Splinter at this point probably just quite happy to stay behind Eastimatsu. But look how close he's getting there. Supercolour says Waze continues to drop off these top 2 now, 3 seconds behind Splinter. These top 2 are kind of in a league of their own at this early stage as Niels further down the field moves up past Jess into 14th place. Niels, of course, having already made a pit stop for damage early on. We've got Yuri and Mr. John fighting as well. Looks like Yuri's got that position into P12. Splinter just dropping a few temps back from Eastimatsu, so I don't think he'll be in a position to really fight him down this straight. We've got Bill in the pits, so Bill deciding that now is the opportunity for him to make his first pit stop. See what tyres he goes on to and whether there's a change of front wing or not. No change to front wing, and he's back on another set of softs, so very much deciding that soft medium will probably be the way that he goes this evening, but that does pretty much pigeonhole him into a strategy now where he won't be able to run softs for his final stint. Let's see if he comes out in front or behind Niels. He's going to be in front of Niels. So Bill rejoins in 13th place on that one. And we'll go back with a battle that's developed between Connor and Waze. Moz has just dropped back ever so slightly from this pair, and now it gives Connor a bit of freedom to potentially make a move on Waze for third. They wind their way through the final few corners of this track. Of course, the news broke last week that this will not be the only US venue on the calendar in 2022. There'll be the Miami Grand Prix as well as this, so 2 venues for the US. It's a good time to be an American F1 fan, I think it's fair to say. The only thing they're lacking really is a driver now. Dark Shadow picking up another penalty. I've got to be honest, at the rate Dark Shadow's picking up penalties, they've got to be careful they don't get disqualified here. MK Bourne's just moved past Jess into 15th place. Splinter still right with Easty Mats for the lead of this one, as Jack G continues his fight back through the field after that unfortunate disconnection during qualifying. He's clearly got the pace to be fighting up at the sharp end somewhere, and he's showing it so far. And of course all the guys that are currently below the red line in terms of not being eliminated through the playoffs, they're currently all doing pretty well. So in terms of, just have a quick look at who that would sort of drag into the mix, if you will. If I can find it quickly, there we go. So Yuri would be one driver who could potentially find himself under big pressure, and so is Bazza. And where Yuri's currently in 11th, Bazza's obviously made a pit stop, hasn't he? And he's down in 17th. So I'll tell you what, Bazza and Yuri, all of a sudden, if these guys continue doing the good work they're doing, that puts Bazza and Yuri really into trouble. There's a bit of a gap after that to Vitinho, but yeah, for sure, with Bazza and Yuri only being a point ahead of Waze, that definitely is going to put them under significant pressure. Connor, though, is very much right behind Waze here, and you can see Waze just isn't able to keep pace with the leading pair, now over 4 seconds adrift of them. Vitinho as well, just can't get past Mozza, who's drifted back from these two slightly. I think I've explained the playoff system as well as possible, really. Let's have a look at penalties. Someone's asked to have a look at that. So yeah, there you go. Moz is on 6 seconds. Waze is on 3. You've got Yuri and Bill have collected a lot of penalties already, which is not ideal for them. We've got a yellow flag. I'm just trying to see what's going on there. Not too sure. Easty Mats is the race leader. Easty Mats has just picked up a penalty as well, so that's not too ideal at all. But yeah, Yuri's got some penalties, and so has Bazza, and Jess has also got a 5-second penalty, which I believe she got at the start of the race. So that's the penalty situation at the moment. I'll try and keep an eye on it every sort of 5-10 laps or so. Gamu's just picked up his first penalty as well. And that'll be a good sight for Splinter to see Easty Mats with a penalty, because it now means that he's obviously right behind him, and he's got the advantage of, so far at least, not having any penalties to his name. And Easty Mats dives into the pits, so Easty Mats protects himself against the undercut by triggering the pit stops first. Splinter carries on. And just Easty Mats in the pits at the moment. He goes on to medium tyres, which of course means he's got freedom of choice then for his second pit stop. And Dark Shadow has retired from the race in the pit lane. He just went into the pits, got a pit lane speeding penalty, and they've called it a day there. So our first retirement of the evening is Dark Shadow, and we've got, oh look at this, coming out of the pits, Easty Mats and Yuri really going at it. And it looks like Yuri's just got out in front of Easty Mats. Tell you what, that battling, and ultimately losing the place to Yuri. That could help Splinter maybe make the overcut work. That's not ideal at all for Eastimats, who then locks up for good measure and loses time to Yuri. So this has been a messy lap from Eastimats when he really didn't need it. Is Splinter going to cover the pit stop off straight away? Or is he going to wait a lap or two? Let's have a look. Now Splinter carries on, so he's quite happy to just carry on at the moment. Not ideal for Eastimats at all there. Rejoining pretty much alongside Yuri as Waze collects what is his second penalty, so that's a big blow for him as well. Vitinho could be in a good position here to challenge Cloud Mozza down the inside into turn 1. He clouts the curb a bit, but he gets it stopped, gets it turned in, no contact, and he's through. Nicely done from the Brazilian driver Vitinho, who finds himself up into 4th place, and that was a good move there, and credit to Mozza for giving him the space in which to pull it off. Let's stay with this battle that's still raging for 2nd place. Waze has fended off Connor for quite a while, but it would appear that Connor's got a little bit more pace in his car, with just how close he's able to stick behind at this point in time. I'm going to go back with Splinter briefly, just want to see if he pits this lap. No, he's still carrying on, so clearly he's not seeing any need to. I've got to be honest, Eastimats' pace since changing. What on earth? That was a weird moment there with Splinter, but it was very odd there. You don't usually see cars alongside that side of a track unless they're about to take a checkered flag. So Vitinho decided, I've overtaken Mozza, I'm now going to pit. So Vitinho into the pits for his first stop at a race, and he will also go on to another set of soft tyres. How is Eastimats doing against Yuri? He's not really pegged him back all that much so far. Eastimats at this stage of the race doesn't look like he's particularly enjoying the feel of those medium tyres. Got a good battle brewing here for 5th place, potentially even 4th as well, as Newgarden, Danscar and Jack close in on Mozza. We've got a yellow flag, and I think that's Frenegamu, who's found himself rounded off the track. Yeah, spun off the track. Looks like just before that chicane. And Frenegamu was having a really good race, I would have said, up to that point, but that's a big blow for them. He had to wait a long time before rejoining, and ultimately that has cost them some places. We've got Mozza now in the pits. I'm going to go on board with Vitinho. What's happened to Niels? Has Niels got an issue now? Yeah, Niels has run off the track as well. So Niels, who has already made a pit stop, of course, has made an error. Mozza, I suspect, will come out behind Vitinho. That's where he was before, of course. Yep, so Mozza rejoins in front. Sorry, Mozza rejoins behind Vitinho, sorry. Actually, quite a way behind as well, so really good undercut for Vitinho there. Just that one extra lap on new softs was enough. And we've got a battle brewing for 2nd place on the road. And Waze once again fends Connor off. So, Connor will be getting sick to death of the sight of that car in front of him by now. But Waze is defending well and holding on to that 2nd place. I'll be very surprised if Waze doesn't come in at the end of this lap, but Connor would, because it'd be worth triggering the undercut here, because he must clearly think he's quicker at this stage. There you go. Yeah, I think he was going to pit, but obviously he then saw Waze dive in, so he's going to make the decision to carry on. Waze into the pits. Newgarden pitting as well. It's not the longest medium tyre stint, but it's pretty decent. Just having a look at the moment. Eastimats 18.9 in front. 18.9 behind Splinter. I tell you what. Oh, Connor's out of the race. And we've got a safety car. What happened to Connor? Trying to find where Connor's car is. Oh, that's a huge accident. Yeah, Connor's had a huge accident around the first part of the lap. I wonder if he's just lost it. somewhere in his attempt to try and get the overcut on Waze. He's lost it and gone into the wall. I don't think there was contact with anyone else. I don't think there was anyone around him. But nevertheless, that's a big blow for Connor. Real shame. He was having a really good race up to that point. He's comfortably in. I say he's not going to be eliminated. He's already advanced to the next stage, so that's absolutely fine for him. He's not under any threat in that regard. But nevertheless, it's not the way he would have wanted his race to end. And now, of course, the drivers will line up behind the safety car. I tell you what, that's not good news for Splinter. Of course, you can't serve one of your 2 pit stops under the safety car unless you got damage. So Splinter here is pretty much going to be forced to stay out, and that means that essentially Easty Mats will have gained a pit stop on him because he'll be only a few cars behind him, having already made a stop, because the safety car will bunch everybody up. So big blow for Connor, and also a big blow for Splinter as well. And of course, for those guys who were struggling towards the tail end of the field, it gives them a chance to catch back up. Sadly for Jess and Frenningham, they've been lapped, so that will not help them too much. In fact, I believe it's I think that's Jess that you can see in between Splinter and Dan's car at the front. For a second, they're just trying to unlap herself. Easty Mats had a collision with Bill. What's gone off there? And Easty Mats has got a penalty because of that. Don't know what that's all about. That's very bizarre. Either way, that's not. Let's have a look at penalties again quickly. Look at that. Bill's now got 17 seconds worth of penalties. Yuri and Easty Mats have got 8 seconds each. So both Easty Mats and Bill both got 5 seconds for that collision there. Yuri up to 8 seconds as well. There's only, at this point, 5 drivers without penalties. There's a Splinter, Vitinho, Newgarden, Mr. John, and Jacko. I mean, what on earth's happening? You've got 3/4 of a grid with penalties, and Jacko's not one of them. I mean, this isn't the way it should usually be. But nevertheless, it just shows this really. There's been a lot of collisions and a lot of corner cutting penalties as well. Let's go back to the tyre graphic. Quickly as well, want to see. So yeah, you've got 5 drivers as well who have yet to pit. Splinter, Dan's car, and Yuri the top 3. So essentially, Easty Mats is your race leader at the moment, with Bill in second and Vitinho in third. But of course, Bill has so many penalties already, so that's not good for him. And I'm just trying to look as well. So yeah, Mr. John hasn't stopped, and neither is Indecisive. Fastest lap currently belongs to Vitinho. One of the stages was on lap 14. I'm trying to think back now. I think Easty Mats would have been leading at lap 14, so Easty Mats will get the stage point there. The other stage point to bear in mind is lap 28. Just have to wait and see who that goes to. It may very well go for Splinter if he decides to stay out until then, but might be unlikely. Safety car should be in at the end of this lap. Everyone's caught up now, pretty much. And let's just go on board with your race leader, Splinter, at the moment. In fact, the guy who's in the best position, the provisional pretty much race leader at the moment, is Easty Mats, so we'll go on board with him. You can see Yuri in front of him and Dan's car. And then, of course, Splinter at least has the buffer of Jess between himself and Dan's car behind. Not too sure where Frenningham Move fits into the mix. Just trying to see. Looks like he's behind a few cars actually. I think that's him there behind behind Jack G. So Freniger moves behind quite a few of the cars there. So there's a few cars between himself and Jess. Safety car in at the end of this lap then. And what on earth's going on there? Yuri's just... Oh, Splinter's got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Yuri. And I'm guessing Yuri's got one as well. No, Yuri hasn't got one on this occasion. Wait a minute, Yuri's now leading. I don't think... What is Yuri doing? I'm a bit confused on that one. I think he's trying to give a place back to Splinter. This is utterly bizarre. Yuri should not be in the lead here. I'm not too sure at all what's going on there. Here we go. He's moving across to let people through, but... Well, Splinter's now choosing to pit. I think Dan's car and Yuri and others will do the same, but yeah, that was utterly bizarre. Easty Mats leads away then as we go onto the straight. I'm trying to see Bill then up in second. Bettino, Waze, Cloud Mozza, Jack G, Newgard and MK Board, Niels and Mr. John completing the top 10. Mr. John looks like he's just lost out though to Bazza. Indeed he has. You can see that Renault inspired, late OO's inspired livery. Oh, and in fact, Mr. John's now been overtaken by Jacko as well. So Jacko up to 11th. Bill's just got another penalty. That's up to 20 seconds worth of penalties now for Bill. That's going to do him no good at all. And look at that. Splinter, all of a sudden, from in the lead of a race, down to 15 for timing of a safety car. Not good for him at all. There you go, see already about Bill up to 20 seconds worth of penalties, not at all what he needed, it has to be said. But it is Easty Mats leading the way, Bill in second, may come under threat from Vitinho potentially. Let's try and see at the moment, Jack G up to 6th place now from the back of the grid. That's a really great recovery. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3, I think that's Niels. Niels got no front wing. Niels into the pits with no front wing. I mean, at least he lost it pretty close to the pit lane. So one advantage to that, I suppose. And Niels now, of course, as well. This will be his second pit stop, so he can go to the end from here. I imagine he'll probably take on another set of mediums. Yeah, and he'll at least be able to go to the end. So that's some consolation for him there, but not what he wanted at all. And Mr. John's picked up a penalty as well. Penalties are going to be utterly crucial come the end of this one. Waze is putting some bit of pressure on Vitinho here. Waze has spent most of his race on the defensive, so I think it'll probably feel good for him if he can now start to go on the offensive and attack a few of the guys in front of him. Of course, Easty Mats is the only one of the top 7 on mediums at the moment, and his pace is still pretty solid with it, so Easty Mats suddenly looking in a good spot here. Of course, he's got 8 seconds worth of penalties. Vitinho without any penalties at the moment, and that could be a little handy thing to keep an eye on, because without any penalties, him and Newgarden could find themselves as big threats at the race end, particularly if we have another safety car period, which is not out of the question. Mozza's just picked up a penalty. It's 9 seconds worth for him now. Yuri, oh, and look at that. It looks like Mozza managed to overtake Jack G, Waste rather, and Waste nearly loses out. Mr. John is out of the race. He's crashed out in sector 2. So Mr. John becomes our 3rd retirement of a race. It doesn't look like there's any safety car on this occasion. Waste struggling to contain the rear end of that car after losing the position to Mozza. And yeah, I was about to talk about Waste potentially going on the offensive. He then goes and loses a place, so not worked out too well for him there. Bill staying within the second of the race leader. I think that's Jess keeping out of everyone's way. I don't think she needs to, but she's made that decision anyway. And we've got Waste and Jack G fighting each other as Yuri picks up another penalty. And you can see further ahead, that looks like Vitinho having a bit of a look, and Vitinho's gone round. Was there contact between him and Cloud Mozza? I'm not too sure, but either way, always got to be so careful when he rejoins. He has been, but that's cost him dear. He's going to drop down several positions, down to 8th place in the end, and maybe either too eager on the throttle or a little bit of contact. I don't think there was contact, but I could be wrong on that one. And look at this, Wace and Cloud Mozza going side by side. This is not a place you want to go side by side through. And in the end, Cloud Mozza has to give up the places. Cloud Mozza got some damage. It doesn't look like... Yes, he has. Cloud Mozza has got damage. He's coming in the pits. Apologies, I was looking at the wrong car. But Mozza into the pits. So there might have been some contact, I suspect, between him and Vitinho that sent Vitinho around. And it's caused front wing damage on Mozza's car as well. And of course, Mozza is one of the drivers at risk here of being eliminated from the playoffs. And this will not be doing his Herps any good at all. Of course, like I said, the one advantage now is he can run to the end, as can Niels. And he's going to rejoin in front of Niels as well, which is quite handy. He's going to be in front of Yuri as well on that one. Look at some of the penalties here. Newgarden all of a sudden suddenly looks in a very strong position here when you've got all the drivers in front of him having so many penalties in comparison to him. You get the feeling here penalties are really going to shake up the way this race goes. Now keep an eye on who's in the lead when we go into lap 28, which I believe is at the end of this lap. It should be Easty Mats, so I believe Easty Mats will collect to both stage points then, which is just further strengthens his hold on what is currently first place in the playoffs. So despite things looking at one point a little bit dodgy for Easty Mats, they do seem to be falling back into place for him, as we've got Bazza and Dan's car fighting away, and it looks like Dan's car moved past Bazza up into 8th place. So Wace up in 3rd still. Things looking pretty good for him to force his way in out of the elimination zone. And I would say at the moment he'd probably be pushing in either Bazza or Yuri. Potentially Yuri, looking at it at this current moment. Got Wace as well now potentially on the offensive. Jack G's just picked up another penalty. How many is that hit for him now? Just 9 seconds for him. Easty Mat's on 11. Look at that. Newgarden's on 0 and he's only 3 seconds off, or just under 4 seconds off a race lead. So right now things looking very good for Newgarden just by keeping it clean and tidy in comparison to those around him. And he's got a nice buffer as well behind him, Newgarden. He's got no threat from behind him because MK Bourne is in 6th place at the moment and he's almost 10 seconds adrift of Newgarden. Oh, look at that. That was wide there from Wace. He managed to recover it before an opportunity opened up to Jack behind. Yeah, oh dear, the penalties. Yeah, there's quite a lot of them. I tell you what, dear, we're only a half distance here. There's a real risk that we could be looking at some disqualifications here, because you look at some of the drivers. Let me just have a look again. Frenegamu and Bill already with over 20 seconds worth of penalties as Yuri collects his 3rd penalty. You keep going at that rate and you are looking at potentially getting a disqualification if you carry on at that rate. MK Bourne, okay, we've got Bill in the pits. Bill in the pits then for what will be his 2nd and final stop. He'll be on to medium tyres. He's got a penalty to serve, so that will, I think, remove some of his penalties at least, but still got a lot of penalties out there for him. I was about to say, I think we just saw a move as well. Vitinho got past MK Bourne and up into what is now 5th place. And in fact, Dan's car trying to get past MK Bourne now as well. MK Bourne's on 24 lap old mediums, so they will not be feeling particularly nice compared to the soft tyres on Dan's car behind. And Bill rejoined in 10th place, just in front of Jacko, who only has one more stop to make himself, and doesn't have any penalties right now, so Jacko could find himself helped out at the end just by that situation. I can't emphasise it enough in this race, but penalties are going to play such a key role in the finishing results here, just because of the difference when you go through the field with some drivers. Splinter is looking like he's going to want to try and get past Bazan before too long. And is that Bazan running a bit wide there? We got a car, I think that's Dan's car. No, it wouldn't be Dan's car, would it come into the pits? No, it's Frenegamu. The lapped car who came into the pits. I was about to say Dan's car, it would make no sense for him to pit at this stage. And Splinter, Frenegamu has decided to call it there. Frenegamu out of a race, the 4th retirement of proceedings, sadly. And you can look at Splinter going for the better exit. Going to go on board because that's a shocking camera angle. Vitinho has got his first penalty. Oh, his first penalty of a race for Vitinho. That's a big blow for him. Bill, Splinter, look at that. Penalties still rising here. We got a yellow flag in centre 1-2. That's just Frenegamu's car rejoining the track. Would be great if Codemasters could remove that for the next game, but we'll have to wait and see. Splinter still behind Bazza. I thought he would have got past by now, if I'm honest, just because of the pace that we know that Splinter already has, and on those soft tyres you expect him to fly past, but right now Bazza's still doing a good job out there. Oh, look at this. Is he going to try and move into the penultimate turn? Around the outside, and then turn to the inside. There's a bit of contact. And that sent Bazza into the wall. There wasn't much contact there, it has to be said. Maybe Splinter just didn't leave quite enough room on the outside there to Bazza. And Bazza will have to come into the pits. And it's his final stop to get out of the way. But I've got to say, his hopes of remaining out of the elimination places in the playoffs are fading fast. He's not having it good this evening so far. God, the rear end on Waze's car looks so lively. So every time I go near to looking at him, it's always sideways. It doesn't look like the most fun car to handle, I have to say. And he's still got Jack G just behind him. They're within a second of a race leader, Easty Mats, at this stage. And these top 4 very much in a race of their own at the moment. In terms of a leading guy who's made both their stops, it's Bill at the moment, but like I said, he's got so many penalties. Just look at that. I know he removed 5 seconds when he pitted, but then he immediately added another 3 seconds on. He's up to 18 seconds again. Some of these penalties will be served in their pit stops, but others won't. And you can see now it's only Jacko and Newgarden who have not got penalties. That's quite incredible if they can keep that going. On board with Dan's car, with Dan's car, because I get the feeling he's about to pull off a move on MK Bourne for 6th place. Not quite yet. This isn't really an overtaking area of the track, so no real need to risk anything at this stage. We'll just try and set it up for the back straight, or maybe an opportunity through one of the penultimate final turns, as we saw with Bazza and Splinter. But obviously that didn't work out as hoped. MK Bourne's just got a penalty as well, and he's having to go super defensive against Dan's car. I wonder if he wanted to pit there, but he couldn't because Dan's car was on his inside, and in the end he holds on to the place. But it looks like, I don't think he was squeezing him. I think he might have wanted to come into the pits there, MK Bourne. Of course, he's been on those mediums 28 laps now, but he had no choice there. He couldn't move across because there was a car there. The only other option he would have had is to back out. He decided not to do that. He's happy to wait another lap before pitting. Wace is right with Easty Mats now, so I'm going to join this battle for what is the race lead at the moment. I tell you what, Wace really hooking it up when he needed it most, it's fair to say. As round the final part of the lap they go, And Wace comes into the pit, so Wace is triggering undercut here on Easty Mats. He's feeling pretty confident at this stage and deciding to do the undercut in an attempt to wrestle the race lead from Easty Mats. I imagine we'll see him go on to medium tyres here. Yes, indeed we do. So that's Wace with all his pit stops out of the way, and he should rejoin in front of Bill, who will be the nearest one, who's also made all his stops. Oh, I tell you what, though, he might rejoin in some right traffic here. This isn't going to be too good for him. He's going to have to be careful. He's got MK Bourne on his outside, but he gets just in front of MK Bourne into 5th, and that's not too bad for Wace there. He's just behind Vitinho, and I'd say good damage limitation, because if he'd have ended up behind the pair of MK Bourne and Dan's car, that would not have been too fun for him. As Bill gets another penalty, 21 seconds it is up to now. He's clearly not too fond of the track limits around here. And Mozza also with another penalty as well. It's hard to keep up with some of these penalties as they keep filing through. And we've got Splinter as well now in the back of this sort of little group of cars that's developed. Wace will sense an opportunity here to get past Vitinho pretty quickly. That's what he'll be hoping to do. Oh, and he tried to get a good exit out of the far turn and got all crossed up again. The rear end of that car just seems to be affecting him quite a lot. Certainly in the traction zones, he just isn't able to get the throttle down as early as he would like. Let's go on board with Splinter. You can see the whole little train of cars here, although Vitinho and Wace just pulling away from MK Bourne, who surely must be coming in the pits soon. As those 30 lap old mediums will not be feeling too friendly at this stage. You can see Dan's car's eager to try and find a way through. He hasn't been able to do that as of yet. Jack G within the DRS zone of Easty Mats up front as well. And look at that, there's a little move available to him there. But no, he didn't think about making it into the inside. Wace is still unable to get past Vitinho at this stage. Oh, we've got someone peeling into the pits. That is Splinter. Splinter into the pits then. And that will be for his final scheduled stop. Yuri as well has taken that opportunity to get his final stop out of the way as well. Should be medium tyres for the pair of these. Indeed it is. And Yuri's tyres change for me, which we should do soon. Jacko in as well for his final stop. He did a very long 31 lap stint on that set of mediums. MK Bourne has done the same as well. We've got Wace going for a move, it looks like. Try and catch that. There we go. Once again, the rear end of that car just does not want to stick. And that actually, he was looking at a good place to make the move there, but the rear end cost him. Try and follow Vitinho through this section now. That'll definitely been a warning for Wace. Vitinho pits. Some good news for Wace is he's now been released from Vitinho. MK Bourne surely is going to come in now. I can't believe this. MK Bourne's still staying out there. Like I said, no one's running the Joker this evening, so there's no reason for him to stay out. He's still got another stop to make. I'm guessing he wants to try and pit the softs, but doesn't look like he's got much pace at this stage on those worn tyres. But he's keeping Dan's car behind him, to his credit. Vitinho's going to rejoin by the looks of things, just behind Niels, just in front of Splinter. And all those, so basically everyone from 8th place downwards, down to the lapped cars, apart from the lapped cars, sorry, has made, or 7th place rather, has made their 2 stops. Waze in 4th has, the rest of them still have a stop to make. That's Indecisive just in front of these guys. One of the lapped cars. Is MK Bourne finally going to give up those medium tyres? No, he's not. And Bill's going to be joining in shortly as well. I've got to be honest as well, for Bill, in terms of this race, like, if it wasn't for the amount of penalties he's got, he'd be in a great position as well. Here he goes, thinking about the move on Dan's car, but opting out of it. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. I'm not too certain what that was for. It's quickly gone away. I think it might just have been Jess actually moving out of the way on that one. Oh, and Jacko, he was literally one of only 2 drivers to this stage that hadn't got a penalty, but Jacko has now picked up his first 3-second time penalty of the event. You can see there the penalties that drivers have got is quite incredible, really. And we've still got some time left. Newgarden and Jack G are in the pits. Newgarden, the only driver without penalties, and that puts him in a very nice position at this stage of the race. Oh, but that's not good. Him and Jack G were in the same pit garage. That's not what they needed at all. It's so difficult to know that, but Newgarden did get held up a bit, but it could have been a lot worse, I suppose. At least they weren't right next to each other. Oh, look at this here, just coming out of pits, and Jack G has actually made an overcut work on ways, so not too bad at all there for Jack. And Easty Mats will be happy when he sees that, I reckon. Jack G just managed to fend off ways when Jack came out of the pits, and now on those fresh soft tyres he can try and get the hammer down and put Easty Mats under some pressure, at least on the track. If nothing else, if Easty Mats has just got another 5-second penalty. I wonder if Wace actually may have had to serve a penalty when he pitted. That's definitely a possibility. Easty Mats now up to so many penalties. Bill's got another penalty as well. Easty Mats pits from the race lead. I reckon, I'm about to find out of course, Easty Mats will have had to serve a penalty when he pitted. Yeah, definitely. Look at the amount of time he's lost. He's definitely served a penalty when he came into the pits there. So to such an extent, he's going to be behind Bill. Is he going to be behind Newgarden as well? Not quite, but to be honest with you, the difference in penalties, like you'll see now, yeah, it's gone down to 12 seconds, but look at the position Newgarden's in here. As it stands provisionally, he would win the race just through virtue of not having any penalties. Bill is looking at the moment like he would drop down from about 3rd to potentially, they're probably looking about 8th, 9th, maybe 10th. With everyone else's penalties taken into account, that's really the sort of situation he's looking at, and it just shows how important it is. Bill, here we are on board with him here. Let's go with this scrap on the track. Then we got Patino just behind Niels. What's the pens like? I've just shown them, I think, so that was quite handy timing. I didn't even see that comment, I just read it now. But yeah, that's a penalty situation right now. You'll just see it there on the screen for you. And that's what I'm saying. It's not just the fact that Newgarden has no penalties, it's the fact that all the guys in front of him have at least 12 seconds. It's 12 seconds in Jack G, Wace and Easty Mats' case, and 24 seconds in Bill's case. So yeah, Newgarden, definitely not the quickest driver out here today, but definitely the cleanest in terms of the corner cutting. And here we go, and we've got Patino going right round the outside of Niels into turn 1. If he can get the power down, that's a beautiful overtake. And indeed it is. That's lovely stuff from Patino. But Niels fighting back. Wow, I did not expect that. Fair play, Patino. Therefore, he must have thought he got the move done, but Niels snuck back past him. Probably caught Patino off guard, if anything. That was really good driving from a pair of them, but particularly Niels. And grabs the position back on that one. Essentially got a battle squaring up here as well. Easty Mats right on the back of Bill for P3. As Jack G does the fastest lap on the soft tyres. He's absolutely charging at this moment in time. Easty Matsen's going to be in a good position here, surely. He's not even got overtake open. He's got so much of it to use as well, but he obviously didn't feel like he needed to. He's gone down the inside. Bill couldn't do anything to prevent that. Easty Mat's up into third place now, and he'll try to charge after Wace. And, well, look at Jack G pulling out almost, he's already 5 seconds clear of Wace. So Jack's pace at this stage, very impressive indeed. And we said as well about Jack that he's potentially under huge threat of being eliminated from the playoffs tonight, but if he keeps this up, he definitely won't be. Like I said, it was Bazza and Yuri that were on the brink, and look at them down in 12th and 14th at the moment. That's not going to be good for them in terms of pit stops. Just indecisive as a stop to make now. This is pretty much it to the end now for most of these guys. So, it's going to be interesting to see. We've got Newgarden now who will be approaching the back of Bill as well. Newgarden, like I say, has just gone quietly about his business, but it's worked out for him so far. Bill up to 27 seconds worth of penalties now, by the way. So, look, this is a battle on track between two drivers, but Bill's got 27 seconds that will be added to his race time compared to Newgarden's 0. So, I don't think Newgarden will try anything too risky in this situation. And you can see already Wace dropping back from Jack and definitely falling into the clutches of Easty Mats. But I don't even think Easty Mats is matching Jack's pace right now. Jack's definitely just found a groove on those soft tyres and is putting it to good use. And of course, let's remind ourselves here, Jack, who's currently leading the race on the track, he started in 20th. He started from the back of a grid. You know, he had, and through no fault of his own as well, he got disconnected during his lap. So, this is redemption for him for sure. And from 20th on the grid to be leading, of course, and especially in JACKOCAR when you've got to do a mandatory 2-stop, you know, that's a superb turnaround. That really is, and Jack deserves a lot of credit for that for sure. Particularly when his future in the playoff chase was up for grabs tonight. Wace as well. Both Jack G and Wace look like they're going to book their places through. Cloud Mozza's looking a bit more at risk, it has to be said. So if I had to say right now, and this is like I say, this is just some very quick, probably unreliable maths, but if I had to say if things stay as they are right now, I would say the 3 drivers that we're gonna be eliminated from the playoffs tonight are going to be Cloud Mozza, Yuri, and Bazza. That would be what I would work out as it being, as it stands right now. I think Jack G and Waze have done enough to drag themselves out of that elimination zone. But we've still got 12 laps and a lot can happen. Yuri trying his best to prove that as he goes past Splinter, who's got damage on his front wing. You can see his front wing damage on the left hand side. I don't know if that was from some contact that those guys just had, but either way, Splinter's race, I mean, he was looking so good at the start of the race. He was right with Easty Mats, who was leading, but of course we remember that safety car completely screwed Splinter over in that regard, and he had to make a pit stop when everyone was bunched up behind him, and since then it's just gone all wrong for Splinter. And here he goes into the pits now. And he decides to retire from the race. A shame for him that. Not the way he would have wanted that race to end. Showed really good pace, but some bad luck has unfortunately gone his way this evening. We've got Newgarden looking to make a move. What's happened to Niels? Niels has gone off the road now as well. Yuri's just picked up another penalty, but Niels off the road. And also then picks up a penalty for good measure, unfortunately. But he was running up in 7th place, Niels, but drops to 11th after that spin and went into the gravel trap. I'm going to keep an eye on Easty Mats because I get the feeling here that it's not going to be too long as he's right up behind Waze for P2. Don't need to have stops on there anymore, so let's have a look at penalties. Keep that on the side of the screen then, so yeah, you can see as it stands right now, I believe Jack would win still. So Jack's doing a really good job out there. even despite the penalties he's got, Bill now up to 30 seconds. He's not gonna like that when he sees his end result, that's for sure. He might be saved to some degree just by the fact that others behind him have a lot too. But Newgarden, as it stands, would move up to second place, which is a great result. And if he can go the full race with avoiding penalties, he deserves a lot of credit. He really, really does on that one. Even like Jess and Vitinho, who are usually very good at avoiding penalties, have picked up one. And you can see Easty Mats is in a very good position here. He's in overtake mode. I don't think that Waste will fight this one too much, and indeed he does not. And Easty Mats moves up the inside into turn 1 and takes P2. Nicely done indeed from Easty Mats there. Of course, he got the 2 stage points earlier, and he's now back up into second place on the road and doing a good recovery job considering a few issues he's had. Newgarden still behind Bill. He obviously just doesn't feel the need to overtake him, and Bill to 33 seconds. That's the most amount of penalties I've seen in a JACKOCAR race this season. And Newgarden diving up the inside now. He's had enough of being behind Bill. Newgarden goes right round the outside. That's a great move. Bill trying to fight it but can't in the end. Newgarden up into 4th place and takes that position very nicely indeed. Hello Gazaman, welcome to the chat. We're in the latter stages here of the USA Short Grand Prix in JACKOCAR Kia Series. We've had a lot of drama, a few safety cars, lots gone off, but it's Jack G who ever since he's gone on to that latest stint of soft tyres has just been absolutely charging clear of this race. And it looks like it's that soft tyre stint that's going to win Jack this race, despite the fact he's got Newgarden in 4th with no penalties. Jacko's had a... Well, Jacko was looking all very set for a really good race, but I think he was one of the drivers who collected damage on the opening lap. But even so, he could still salvage some decent points here, which would be good for him in the chase. Of course, just to remind you that he said if he did crash, he would have joined me in comms tonight, but to be fair to him, he's had a pretty good evening of it, so he's... that hasn't happened, unfortunately, but he will be, of course, in the commentary box on Thursday with Owen for the Cup Series. Got Easty Mats here, just pulling away nicely from Waze at this stage. We've got a battle for 8th place, which we're going to keep an eye on here between Tino and Dan's car. Tino having to go a bit defensive here against Dan's car. MK Bourne, of course, now on soft tyres after doing that super long stint in the middle of a race on mediums. Look at that, Tino getting way out the slipstream. That's incredible to see. They've got quite similar liveries, these two. I don't know if that's by design or coincidence or what, but they've got very similar liveries. Almost makes you want to say they're teammates, doesn't it? But clearly no team orders at play there as Vitinho picks up his 2nd penalty of proceedings. And we're into the latter stages here. Jack G just has gone on to lap 50 or 56. He's Easty Mats pegging him back a little bit, but to be honest with you, Jack doesn't need to push at this stage of a race. He can just bring it home. Dan's car. Oh, look at this. Look how close this is between these two. Okay, you can see on board of them they look like different cars, but definitely from a broadcast view, they looked very, very similar, these two cars. But Dan's car really wants to have a go at Vitinho here, but look at the way Vitinho went off the corner. So much, really good traction. Probably used a bit of overtake as well, as Jacko picks up his 2nd penalty. I wonder if Yuri's going to salvage enough to keep himself in the playoff, out of the playoff elimination zone. Just having a look, what's his penalty? No, Yuri's got so many penalties. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be enough for him. I do think that you're looking at Jack G and Waze pushing Yuri and Baza out here and into the elimination zone. Of course, for Vitinho, he's very much in the playoff positions at once. I don't think he was secure coming into tonight, but nevertheless, I think where he's now, with the fact he's only got 6 seconds worth of penalties, will be enough to keep him in contention. You can see Yuri's quickly coming up behind these guys. Look at this. He's fighting to... Vitinho does not want to give him the slipstream, but Danscar's going for it down the inside to turn 1. He's going to struggle to make that corner. Oh my goodness me, too late on the brakes. And Yuri actually gets the position on Danscar, so Danscar, in his attempts to pass Vitinho, a little bit too eager on the brake pedal, has too much of a car, and instead of gaining a position, he ends up losing one. But fair play to him for having a go at it, but it just didn't quite work on this occasion. Yuri is going to try and show Danscar how it's done, and does. Straight away gets past Vitinho, and Yuri up to 8th place on the road. So not a few laps to go here then. Jack G still having it all his own way. We've got potential battle brewing here as well. MK Bourne is now in potential position here to fight Cloud Mozza for P6. MK Bourne on soft tyres as opposed to Mozza, who's been on these mediums now for 25 laps. So it could be an opportunity there. Looks like MK Bourne at this stage of the race is a slightly quicker driver. Thread their way through his difficult first sector, and then straight away you flick it into this chicane here. Just not close enough at this stage. If he can get a good enough run onto the start finish straight, there's every opportunity that he can get that P6. That there is no doubt. He might have to be quick about it though, because you can see there Yuri's quickly catching, although he's just got another penalty, and probably without another warning as well, with how much he went wide at the penultimate turn, so that won't be doing his chances any good at all. Here we go then, MK Bourne. Is he going to go for it down the inside? He does indeed. But he's done what Danscar did. He's done exactly what Danscar did. The only difference being is he hasn't lost a place on this occasion, but yeah, he ran too deep in his attempt to dive down the inside, and Mozza says thank you very much and sweeps that position back again. Trying to see then, so there's probably going to be another opportunity here. You can see Vitinho and Danscar are getting involved as well, so this is potentially becoming a multiple car scrap here for P6 on the road. And Mozza's defending isn't over yet, and MK Bourne's already had one look into turn 1, and he almost had a trial run, if you like. It didn't quite work, but this is where he gets it spot on. He's got a much better run using overtake. He's going to have the inside line going into turn 1. Is there anything Cloud Mozza can do this time? No, there isn't. MK Bourne got it wrong the first attempt, but perfected it the second time round, and takes the position from Cloud Mozza and moves up into 6th place. Nicely done there. And I don't think Cloud Mozza's doing enough as it stands really to push himself out of the elimination zone again. I could end up being wrong, but I don't think he is, and in fact he's going to lose another place to Yuri as well, so not too ideal at all. We've got yellow flag in sector 2, and is that Mozza? No, Mozza just lost another place to Vitinho. I don't know what that was all about. We've got a car. I think car went off in the background there, unless I'm mistaken, but Not too sure who that is. Trying to look on the map. Is that Newgarden? I don't think so. I'm a bit confused as to who that was, in all honesty. It might be indecisive, actually. Yeah, it is indecisive. Okay, I couldn't quite tell there from the shots we're getting. Easty Mats has just picked up another penalty. Newgarden's definitely looking good for second here. Jack Jeever's absolutely going to cruise home for the win here. With the penalty situations of those guys behind him, and just the excellent job he's done in his final stint of a race. So I think we'll give Jack G some airtime here, because I think he deserves it. It doesn't look like, I say there doesn't look like as much going on for behind, but Dan's car is right behind Cloud Moza. Yuri has just passed MK Bond, so Yuri's done some great overtaking in his last sort of 10 laps and gained a lot of positions, but the sad thing for him is he's probably going to lose all those positions due to penalties. But nevertheless, put on some good overtaking there, and very nicely done. Let's go on board with Jack G then. He hasn't got many corners to go left, I don't think now. Yeah, here he goes. He's just winding his way through the middle part of this lap of the short circuit, the final of the 56 laps. It's been a great drive from Jack G, from 20th on the grid to first. What a turnaround it has been from him. For the low point of qualifying, Yuri I think's gone off. You know, Yuri's just lost a lot of places. But I'm going to stick with Jack G because I think he deserves the airtime for what he's done. Here he goes then, round the final couple of corners. Jacko will stay on the lead lap, he'll be happy to know. But it is Jack G who takes a commanding win here. And books his place. He was in the elimination zone, but he definitely won't be after that. Easty Mats second across the road. I think he will lose that place to Newgarden, who will, due to his lack of penalties, and I have to say Newgarden deserves a lot of credit for not picking up any penalties here today. And that has put him up to second place. Easty Mats will be third. Waze will be fourth. Bill will cross the line in fifth. But I can tell you he will not stay there, because he's got so many penalties. MK Bourne moves up to fifth, and not for long, but Vitinho fifth. MK Bourne sixth. Cloud Moza seventh. Dan's car in eighth. Bill is currently ninth. He may stay there, actually. So Bill will get 9th. Yuri crashes across the line and gets 10th. And what will Niels get across the line? Niels goes up to 10th. In fact, what does Jacko get anything for his troubles other than 12th? He's I don't think he will, you know. I think it's going to be 12th for Jacko, but still a decent effort from him. And here he goes across the line now to take P12, but it is Jack G who takes the win. And he'll definitely be my vote for driver of the day. I thought Jack did a great job, and I think when someone goes from P20 to P1, you can't really give it to anybody else. A sensational drive from him on that one. And Newgarden as well deserves my other sort of not driver of the day award, but I would also give him a big shout just for not getting any penalties and ultimately staying pretty close to the front as well. So Newgarden in second. Easty Mats continuing his great Kia Series season so far with third. You can see Jack, he'll enjoy that champagne this evening, because that was a very hard fought win. There you go. And so Easty Mats in third. Waze in fourth. You got Vitinho in fifth. MK Bourne sixth. Cloud Moza seventh. Dan's car eighth. Bill ninth. Niels in 10th. Yuri 11th. Jacko 12th, Bazza 13th, and that will knock him into the elimination zone, sadly. Jess in 14th, Indecisive 15th, and then you've got DNF Splinter, Frenagamu, Mr. John Connor, and Dark Shadow. And like I said, unless my maths is absolutely wrong, which it could be, I believe with that will be Yuri, Bazza, and Cloud Moza, who will be in the elimination zone. And fair play to Jack G and Waze, who I think have climbed out of it. Jack definitely has, and I believe Waze has as well. So well done to those guys. Neil's got the fastest lap in the end, so a good extra point for him as well. Or fastest lap points for him. But yeah, look at that, 20th to 1st. You can't say better than that. 12th to 2nd as well for Newgarden. In most normal cases, Newgarden would have been my driver of the day, but obviously in this case, you just can't look past Jack for that one. But yeah, that's been it for tonight's Kia Series race at USA Short. As I mentioned earlier, be sure to tune in to the JACKOCAR Cup Series with Owen and Jacko this Thursday. And we'll be back for the Kia Series next Tuesday. Myself and hopefully Matt too. 7 PM British summertime as always. And it will be for the Belgian Grand Prix. That will be round 11. So Spa always produces drama. I'm sure it will next week. So be sure to join me for that then. But until then, it's good night. And I'll catch you all on the flip side.